Alright, today is Friday, January 24th. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm stepping out for a late lunch. Got up a little bit early, or not early, late today. So I'm gonna walk through this neighborhood and talk to you guys about my observation for the last 2 weeks. Today makes it exactly 2 weeks that I've been here now. Came here 2 Fridays ago. I'm finally kind of settled in with the weather. It's probably averaging, I don't know, mid 80s. I don't think it's hit 90 or anything. But anyway, one of the biggest observations I can see just from walking through this neighborhood, this particular neighborhood here is typical, and what I mean by that is it's a mixture of different levels of different demographic levels. Obviously, if you go to the fancier places, they may have subdivisions where the houses are alike, you know, in a subdivision. But in a place like this, which is very typical throughout the Philippines, you'll have some of the biggest nicely built homes, like this one right in front of me, which I'll turn around and see. Here's a bigger home here in the neighborhood. And then you'll also have homes that are almost like shacks. So I don't mean that in any derogatory terms, but I'm just kind of describing how it is here. It's a huge mixture, from the smaller homes to the big, huge cement mansions. So that's one of the biggest observations I can see. I've been spending a lot of time just walking around here. I haven't rented a car because I felt like I haven't really needed one. Like I said, I'm here to kind of live like a local, and so I've decided to just kind of walk around in the neighborhood and really get a feel of how it is to live out here. So this particular road that leads to the apartment I'm staying is what's called a barangay road, but it's unpaved. So I would say in US standards, as far as distance, I think it's maybe 4 or 5 blocks, maybe 6 blocks away from the main highway that's coming up here. You know, generally pretty peaceful. I've kind of walked back and forth this street, you know, since I've been here, even in the dark at night, where I'm walking around with a flashlight, and honestly speaking, I've never felt any sense of danger. So I feel fairly safe. We are in the Philippines, and so you will kind of see this typically throughout the Philippines, depending on what neighborhood you're in. So anyway, I'm walking over to this small carinderia over here and grab some lunch, and then we'll see what else we can find for today to talk about. This is the main highway. I keep forgetting what the name of the street is. So I walk up and down the street in the afternoon looking for local places to eat. Is this the pancit, and is this the stingray? What is this one today? What is that, sinigang?
Yeah.
Sinigang? They had some kind of a pancit noodle there, and pork sinigang. Let's walk over to this other carinderia over here and see if they have more selection of dishes we can pick from. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's kind of my fault for coming out here this late. You know, typically they'll just start cooking things for lunch, and you know, they'll cook enough to sell throughout lunch, and then probably the leftovers is what I'm gonna end up having. Now, I've eaten there before. There's that Crispy King over there across the street. I usually have a couple of pieces of chicken and some rice. Very inexpensive. I think the chicken is like 40 pesos per piece. So I usually grab a couple of pieces, usually a breast and a serving of rice. And I think rice is like 10 pesos or 15 pesos or something. So I can have a meal for about 95 pesos, which is less than $2. I don't know, $1.50, $2 for a meal. Nothing fancy, but you know, not too bad. By the way, I'm in the Barangay Totolan. This is Barangay Totolan, which is the northernmost barangay here in Dauis, Panglao Bohol. Dauis is the second municipality of Panglao Island. And you know, even at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's some traffic here, but it's not too crazy. So sometimes crossing the street here can be a little tricky. They have their way of, their own system of doing things here. One thing I just actually noticed, I haven't seen any stop signs in this whole area. And I've completely forgotten how things are here. Yes, so yeah, there are no stop signs. There's no signs out here at all. But somehow they have this system of give and take. You know, you kind of just work your way in. If you're merging into traffic or you're crossing across the street, whether you're driving or walking, people just kind of have this internal system of give and take, you know. And so far, I haven't really seen anybody get in any accidents or anything. The other thing too is that I don't see anybody getting episodes of road rage out here the way maybe you'd see out in the States or maybe another country. Well, people are totally stressed out and have a lot on their mind, and they're completely wound up, and you make the wrong move and next thing you know, there's arguments over somebody cutting off someone else. So anyway, it's a peaceful small barangay here in the Philippines, and so far my experience has been really good. Anyway, let me stop the video here and I'll have some lunch and then go from there. Talk to you soon. All right, so I just got done eating lunch and I went into a local market and bought some bananas. I kind of like to snack on these things, you know, at night or stuff when I get hungry. So I bought a whole, I don't know what you call a rack of bananas, but for 145 pesos. So that's say 50 pesos. So that's almost $3, less than $3 for this whole rack of bananas. They're pretty tasty actually. And then I went and bought a what they call this banana cube. I'm eating a lot of bananas, but it's basically fried bananas with some kind of sugar coating on it. And this was 15 pesos. So it's like I don't know, 15 pesos. My math is completely off right now. So 6, 4, I don't know, like 30 cents. I think, something like that, 30 cents. So anyway, I'm gonna eat this while I walk. It kind of looks like it's gonna start raining here. So I'm gonna walk back. I don't really have any plans for today. I was gonna go ahead and try to learn how to ride the scooters around here. But honestly, I'm kind of hesitant because the last thing I want to do is get in some kind of an accident while I'm here and not know a single person out here. It's the most commonly used mode of transportation here is these scooters, just because it's pretty cheap on gas. But as far as actually trying to transition back in here and living back down here, it's quite a challenge. Honestly, my emotions are kind of up and down on a daily basis. There are days when I feel great, like I feel like yeah, I think I can do this, you know. I think I can create something new here. I'll have a bright future and do something else. There are some days when I feel that way, and then there are other days where I feel like, you know, I feel a little lost, honestly speaking. So I know it's normal for me to kind of go through this transition. I know it's part of the normal process of pulling yourself out of a 45 years worth of conditioning in a different culture, and then trying to immerse yourself into a completely different, but not foreign, not so foreign. I mean, obviously I'm Filipino, so I'm fully aware of the culture. But as far as the living conditions, just the daily routine you have in the US, and just the basic amenities that we kind of take for granted, and then when you come to the Philippines, and you know, they're not as highly equipped. I kind of know what to expect, and I know this is just part of the process of transitioning. You know, when I've done this before, it usually takes, I go through 6 months worth of phases. I think in general it takes about 6 months. 6 months for me to go through one phase of the transition, and then another 6 months after that. You know, there are still a lot of things that you still have to get used to, and habits to change, and new things to learn, and old things to shed. So it's definitely a high learning curve, a steep learning curve, I should say. But hey, you know, that's where growth comes from. So at least once a day I try to put in 1.5 miles, sometimes 2 miles a day, depending on how hot it is. Right now it's kind of overcast now, it's cooled down a bit. Looks like actually looks like it may rain. But you know, rather than sitting around in the house, I'm trying to stay active and create a routine for today. One thing I am encouraged about though is I feel physically pretty good after getting over that cough that kind of lasted for about a week. Now I'm kind of completely over it, and now I can really start to feel the difference physically as far as my body. You know, I think just because from walking around and I'm trying to stay focused. I don't know, overall I feel pretty good. Overall I actually feel pretty good, considering what I'm kind of going through. 2 weeks back into the country here. So overall I feel good. There's a couple more things I'd like to talk to you guys about. So let me gather my thoughts, and then I'll come right back with you so I can share more of my experience and what I'm going through. Thank you.